The arrival of the overseers. It was a calm, ordinary Tuesday when the unexpected happened. The hum of daily life on Earth was interrupted by a message. At first, no one took it seriously. It was just another anomaly, a glitch, perhaps, or a stray signal from a distant satellite. But as the signal grew clearer and its structure more defined, the scientists at the Global Space Communications Center could no longer deny the truth. What they were receiving was no ordinary transmission. This was a message from beyond the stars. The transmission came through in perfect clarity, almost too perfectly. It was as if it had been carefully crafted, not by any natural cosmic forces, but by an intelligence far beyond anything humanity had encountered. The team of scientists working that morning could hardly believe their eyes as they translated the message. There was no ambiguity, no confusion, just a cold, commanding statement. Your species has reached a sufficient level of development. You will now join the Galactic Council as a tribute world. Every solar cycle, you shall provide the following: 20% of your global mineral production, 30% of your technological advancements, and 10,000 of your population for cultural exchange programs. The words echoed in the sterile silence of the communication room. It took a moment for the weight of the message to sink in. A tribute world. The concept was absurd. It was something straight out of a science fiction novel. Earth, humanity, was being told, not asked, but told that it was now part of some cosmic collection, subject to the demands of an alien race. This was no request for diplomacy, no peaceful proposal. It was a demand, a command given with the assurance that Earth had no choice but to comply. Admiral James Miller, a seasoned officer with decades of service to his name, stood in the United Nations Emergency Chamber. His face, weathered by years of military duty, was illuminated by the enormous screen before him that displayed the alien message. World leaders sat around him in stunned silence, unable to comprehend the magnitude of what they were facing. This wasn't just a threat. It was an ultimatum. An entire species was now demanding Earth's compliance. And that was just the beginning. The creatures that called themselves the overseers had not bothered to hide their intentions. Their message was clear. We have watched you. You are ready for the next step in your evolution, and your role is now to serve. They spoke as if Earth were just another piece in a game they had long since mastered. A token, a resource. President Thompson, the leader of the United States, stood and addressed the chamber. Her voice, steady as always, belied the storm that was brewing inside her. They're giving us 30 days to respond, she said, her words heavy with the weight of the situation. The question is, what do we tell them? The room erupted into chaos. Every leader had an opinion, each one trying to steer the conversation in a different direction. Some argued for immediate compliance. They pointed to the sheer technological might of the overseers, the way they could transmit their message across the vastness of space with such ease. Surely, they reasoned, humanity stood no chance against such a force. Others suggested diplomacy, offering to negotiate with the alien race in the hopes of finding a peaceful resolution. But all the while, the clock was ticking, and time was slipping away. Amidst the chaos, Admiral Miller stood silently, his eyes fixed on the screen. He had spent his life defending Earth from threats, alien and otherwise. But nothing had prepared him for this. This wasn't a traditional enemy. These beings weren't attacking. They were claiming Earth. They weren't asking for a fight. They were demanding tribute. Miller's mind raced as he thought about every military conflict in human history. Nothing like this had ever happened before. And that, he realized, was exactly why humanity had to fight back. When the noise finally died down, the president turned to Miller. "Admiral," she said, her gaze intense, "what do you think? Can we defeat them?" Miller's voice was calm, but beneath it, there was an undercurrent of resolve. "I studied every military conflict in human history. The truth is, tribute-taking civilizations never stop at their first demand. Today, it's our resources. Tomorrow, It will be our people, then our autonomy, then everything we have. And after they've taken all we have, they'll move on to the next world." His eyes narrowed as he looked at the screen again, picturing the alien fleets, their ships dark and foreboding, looming in space. This isn't about negotiation. This is about survival. The Russian ambassador stood, his face creased with concern. "Admiral, have you seen their technology? The energy required to send a signal like that alone. It's far beyond anything we could ever hope to match. They have weapons we can't even begin to understand." Miller's gaze turned to the main screen. A new display appeared, one that showed the alien transmission data, alongside Earth's latest military advancements. "You're right," he said, tapping the screen to highlight the alien technology. "Their technology is advanced, but it's stagnant. Their encoding methods are ancient, thousands of years old. They've stagnated while humanity has surged forward." He pulled up a comparison between the alien transmission and humanity's own technological developments. In just over a century, humanity has advanced from horse-drawn carriages to space stations orbiting our planet. We've developed more in the last 50 years than they've developed in thousands. They may be stronger now, but they've shown their hand too soon. They've underestimated us. The Chinese ambassador leaned forward. "So what do you propose, Admiral?" Miller's eyes blazed with determination. "We fight back. We innovate. We adapt. And we show them that Earth is not some tribute world to be collected. We have 30 days. 30 days to prepare. 30 days to prove that humanity can do what it does best. Survive. And not just survive. Win." A long silence filled the room. The weight of the decision hung in the air. The future of humanity would be determined in the next few moments. Finally, President Thompson stood. She looked around the room at the world leaders, each of them weighed down by the enormity of the choice they had to make. Then she spoke, her voice clear and resolute. "Admiral Miller," she said, "if we choose this path, can you give us a realistic assessment of our chances?" Miller stood taller, his jaw set. "Madam President," he replied, looking at their message, "I see arrogance. I see complacency. They expect us to roll over, to bow down to them like every other world they've subjugated. But there's one thing they've forgotten. They've forgotten that humanity will never surrender, will never bow to anyone. Not now. Not ever." The room was quiet for a long moment. Then, one by one, heads began to nod. The Japanese ambassador was the first to speak. "I move that we put it to a vote," he said. The decision was made. Earth would not submit. Earth would fight. As Admiral Miller left the chamber that evening, he looked up at the stars. Somewhere, far beyond the reaches of human space, the overseers were waiting. They would get their answer, but not the one they were expecting. Humanity had chosen its path. War was coming, preparing for the unknown. The decision was made. Earth would not submit to the overseers. The United Nations Emergency Assembly had spoken. The fate of humanity was sealed. For the first time in history, the entire world was united, not by peace, but by the threat of war. Yet, even in the face of this unimaginable challenge, Earth's resolve was clear. They would fight. The overseers would not take their resources, their people, their future without a fight. For the next 30 days, the world would undergo a transformation like no other in history. As the news of Earth's decision to defy the alien empire spread, chaos and confusion initially reigned. The population, initially shocked by the announcement, began to rally behind their leaders. Across the globe, people from all walks of life came together in the belief that they would protect their planet, their culture, and their very existence. Military bases worldwide sprang into action. Where there had once been routine training and peacekeeping drills, there was now an intense and relentless preparation for war. Officers, soldiers, engineers, and scientists worked day and night, scrambling to develop new technologies, refine existing ones, and prepare Earth's forces for the unprecedented conflict ahead. Admiral Miller, now the symbolic leader of Earth's Global Defense Initiative, GDI, stood in a vast, underground command center deep within the Rocky Mountains. The base was a fortress, built to withstand any threat, but even this place of safety felt strangely vulnerable in the face of the unknown. The overseers had made it clear they were no ordinary enemy. They were an advanced, ancient race that had ruled through fear, subjugating countless worlds across the galaxy. And yet, despite their might, Earth was willing to take them on. Miller gazed at the screens in front of him, the room filled with the whir of machines and the low hum of voices. Around him, officers and scientists were frantically analyzing the alien transmission. Their goal was clear: find any weakness, any gap in the overseer's armor, and exploit it before the first shot was fired. They had only 30 days. Every second counted. Lieutenant Anna Wright, one of Earth's brightest young minds and a recent addition to Miller's team, called his attention. "Admiral, you need to see this," she said urgently, her fingers flying across the holographic display in front of her. Miller moved to her side. On the screen, a complex map of frequencies and data streams flickered. "What have you found?" Wright pointed to a particular section of the alien signal. "It's in their shield frequencies," she said. "We've been analyzing the transmission protocols, and we've discovered something. Their shield technology, while powerful, is outdated. These frequencies have been in use for thousands of years. They haven't made any significant advancements in their defense systems in over a millennium." Miller's eyebrows rose. "Are you saying we can break through their shields?" "I believe so," Wright replied, her eyes gleaming with determination. "We've already begun working on modifications to our own systems. The quantum-based weapons we've been developing should be able to tear through their shields like they're nothing. Their technology is stagnant, and we've learned to adapt." Miller stood still, letting the weight of her words settle in. If they could exploit the overseer's weakness in their shielding, they might just have a fighting chance. But there was no room for error. Earth's survival depended on it. "Make it happen," he said. "If their shields are weak, we need to be ready to hit them hard." Wright nodded, turning to relay the order to her team. Meanwhile, across the room, Commander Lucas Stone, head of Earth's new space fleet, approached with a report. "Admiral, the first batch of warships is ready for inspection," he said, his voice firm and steady. The fleet was the pride of Earth's military, a powerful, cutting-edge armada designed to take the fight to the stars. Miller's heart swelled with pride. These ships were more than just war machines. They were symbols of humanity's resilience, a testament to the creativity and ingenuity of a species that refused to back down. "How many ships?" Miller asked. 300, Admiral. Combat-ready and fully armed," Stone replied. "And we got another 200 on the way. They may not be as large as the Overseer ships, but they're faster, more maneuverable, and thanks to Wright's research, they're packing a punch. They'll never see us coming." Miller's mind raced with possibilities. The Overseers might be technologically superior, but humanity had one advantage: adaptability. In just 30 days, they had turned their existing technology into a weapon capable of challenging the might of an ancient empire. "What about the crew?" Miller asked. "Are they ready?" Stone gave a tight smile. "We've recruited the best. Our pilots are trained, our engineers are working round the clock, and we've got the most advanced neural interfaces in the world. Our pilots can control their ships with nothing more than their thoughts. The speed and precision of their movements will be unmatched." Miller's gaze shifted to the massive holoscreen displaying a live feed of Earth's first warships assembling in orbit. Each ship gleamed in the light of the distant sun, its sleek black hulls reflecting the cold, silent expanse of space. They were beautiful, in their own way, a new class of vessel born from humanity's will to survive. "Prepare for the next phase," Miller ordered. "We have one shot at this. The Overseers are expecting a tribute. What they're going to get is war." Meanwhile, On the ground, Earth's soldiers were not idle. As space fleets were built in orbit, Earth's military ground forces also underwent a rapid transformation. The Global Defense Initiative had developed a new class of powered armor, a suit designed to give a single soldier the strength to take on an entire army. These suits, equipped with energy shields, advanced weaponry, and enhanced mobility, were meant to give humanity the edge in any ground confrontation. Major Sarah Nguyen, one of the lead officers overseeing the production and testing of the powered armor, stood in the training hall, watching as soldiers moved through their drills. Each soldier wore the new armor, its angular design gleaming under the bright lights of the facility. Major Nguyen could hear the faint hum of energy emanating from the suits as the soldiers practiced hand-to-hand combat, as well as simulated urban warfare. "These suits are more than just protective gear," she said, speaking to a group of engineers nearby. "With their integrated targeting systems, energy shields, and increased strength, a single soldier in one of these suits can take down an entire platoon of normal infantry. We've got 10,000 suits ready to go, and more are coming off the lines every day." She watched as one soldier in particular performed a flawless series of combat maneuvers. The soldier moved with precision and power, executing perfect strikes against virtual targets. When the simulation ended, the soldier removed the helmet, revealing a young man with a determined look in his eyes. "How's the fit?" Nguyen asked, her voice warm yet authoritative. The soldier grinned beneath his helmet. "It's perfect, Major. I feel like I can take on the overseers themselves." Nguyen smiled grimly. "With these suits, you might just have the chance." Back at the Global Defense Initiative headquarters, the final preparations were underway. Earth's military had been transformed in just 30 days, evolving from a peaceful, diplomatic species into a formidable force capable of challenging an ancient empire. But as Miller watched the progress unfold on the various screens, he knew that the coming battle would be unlike anything humanity had ever faced before. They had no choice but to fight. The overseers had forced their hand. And now, Earth was ready to show the universe exactly what humanity was capable of. The calm before the storm. As the days passed, the world held its breath. The 30-day countdown was nearing its end, and the pressure was mounting on Earth's military and political leadership. Admiral James Miller stood in the heart of the newly established Global Defense Initiative headquarters, his eyes fixed on the massive tactical screen that displayed Earth's entire defense network. In just 1 month, humanity had shifted from a peaceful, technologically advanced species into a war-ready force, unified, determined, and prepared to fight for its future. Every corner of Earth was consumed by the preparations for war. Military bases in every country had become beacons of activity. Governments and civilian agencies coordinated seamlessly, channeling resources into the war effort. Engineers worked alongside scientists, both human and alien experts alike, in an effort to reverse engineer the alien technologies harvested from the first transmissions and adapt them to humanity's advantage. Admiral Miller's mind was heavy with the knowledge of the coming conflict. The overseers were no ordinary enemy. They were an ancient, well-established empire that had spent millennia perfecting their control over countless worlds. For centuries, they had subjugated species far more advanced than humanity, bending them into submission with fear, manipulation, and overwhelming force. Earth, though, had never been like the others. The message they had received was not a plea for tribute. It was a challenge. Earth wasn't just a tribute world. It was a world that would fight back. Miller's hand hovered over the console in front of him, his eyes scanning the data that flickered across the screen. Satellites, orbital platforms, and deep space stations all now bore the mark of humanity's resolve. The First Fleet, once nothing more than a dream, now stood ready to meet the Overseer's forces in open space. "Admiral, the First Fleet is ready for inspection." Commander Lucas Stone's voice cut through the thick silence that had overtaken the command room. Stone was calm but determined, his confidence growing with every report. The fleet, Earth's first true space force, had been assembled and trained with one purpose: to deliver a message to the overseers. No longer would Earth be a passive observer in the galaxy's grand game. Miller stood up from his command chair and followed Stone to the war room, where the plans for the upcoming battle were being laid out. The sleek, dark forms of Earth's warships glinted on the screens before him. The fleet had been designed to be faster and more agile than the overseers' massive vessels. Every ship was equipped with newly designed quantum weapons, capable of cutting through the alien shields that had once seemed impenetrable. "We've made progress, but it's still going to be a hell of a fight," Stone said, his voice steady, though there was a hint of anticipation behind it. "Our ships aren't as large as theirs, but we've designed them for speed and adaptability. The overseers will underestimate us, just like they've underestimated humanity time and time again." Miller nodded, his expression hardening. "Speed is our advantage. They may have the sheer numbers, but they're slow. Their fleets are cumbersome. They'll have trouble adjusting to our tactics." Stone turned back to the holographic display, where images of the overseers' fleet were now shown. The alien armada was far more formidable than anything humanity had ever seen. Massive dark vessels that appeared to warp space itself as they moved. These ships were ancient, and they seemed almost indestructible. Yet humanity had already turned that apparent advantage into an opening. "We've spent the last 3 weeks studying their fleet patterns," Miller said, eyes narrowing as he scrutinized the holograms. "Their strategy is predictable. We can exploit that." "Exploiting their weaknesses, sir?" asked Lieutenant Anna Wright, who had entered the room to join them. She was the one who had uncovered the vulnerability in the overseer's shield technology, and now she was hard at work refining the quantum-based weapons humanity had developed. "Exactly," Miller replied. "We've analyzed their ships, everything from their propulsion systems to their communications. We know what their weaknesses are, and we know how to counter them." Wright stepped forward, bringing up another screen. "We've also modified the neural interfaces. Earth's pilots will now have near instantaneous reaction times, much faster than the overseer's crew members, whose systems are sluggish and outdated." "Good," Miller said with a grim smile. "They've always relied on overwhelming force, but they're not ready for a fight like this. We can outmaneuver them." The ground war. While the space fleet prepared to face the overseers in the stars, Earth's ground forces were equally busy. The new powered armor suits were coming off the assembly lines at an incredible rate. These suits, a fusion of advanced materials and cutting-edge technology, were designed to make any soldier virtually unstoppable. Each suit enhanced the soldier's strength, speed, and endurance, making them a force to be reckoned with in battle. Major Sarah Nguyen, one of the lead officers overseeing the Powered Armor Division, had been working around the clock to ensure that the suits were ready. Earth's military was counting on them, and she couldn't afford to fail. As she walked down the rows of soldiers preparing for battle, Nguyen couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. These men and women were ready to fight for their home. Their powered armor suits hummed softly as they tested their weapons, adjusted their shields, and prepared for what would be humanity's first real battle against the overseers. "These suits are going to give us the edge," Nguyen said to her second-in-command, Lieutenant Davis. "One soldier in full armor can take on an entire battalion of normal infantry. We'll be ready for whatever the overseers throw at us." "I have no doubt about that, Major," Davis replied, his voice steady. He had been one of the first to test the suits, and his expertise had made him invaluable in the final push to get them battle-ready. "The suits are powerful, but we've still got to make sure our soldiers are prepared mentally and physically. This isn't just about the technology. It's about willpower." Nguyen nodded. "It's about fighting for something greater than ourselves." Unity across the globe. Back at the Global Defense Initiative headquarters, the final preparations were taking shape. As Miller, Wright, and Stone reviewed the fleet's readiness, another message arrived. This one wasn't from the overseers. It was from the tribute worlds, dozens of species from across the galaxy that had been forced to pay tribute to the overseers for millennia. These planets, once isolated and oppressed, had watched humanity's rise and now sought to join the fight against their common enemy. The transmission was short, but its message was clear. Teach us how to fight. Together, we can bring down the overseers. For Miller, this was the moment he had been waiting for. Earth was no longer alone. The galaxy's oppressed were rising, inspired by humanity's stand. In a matter of days, Earth would not only face the overseers, but would be joined by countless other species, all united by one purpose: to bring down an empire that had ruled through fear for far too long. Miller turned to Stone, his eyes burning with determination. We'll teach them. We'll share everything we know. This fight is no longer just about Earth. It's about freedom. It's about showing the galaxy that we can stand together. Stone smiled. We'll need every ship we can get. It's time to send the message. The final phase of humanity's war plan was underway. Not only would they defend Earth, but they would fight for the future of the galaxy. It was no longer just a battle for survival. It was a fight for freedom, for the chance to chart their own future. The days before the war. The final days before the confrontation were marked by a sense of urgency, but also by a strange calm. The world had come together like never before. People from all nations, all cultures, and all walks of life were united by the same cause. Humanity was about to face its greatest challenge, but it did so with a sense of collective strength. In every corner of the Earth, people were preparing for the war. Soldiers honed their skills, scientists perfected their weapons, and civilians lent their support in every way they could. Humanity was no longer divided by politics, by borders, or by ideology. There was only one focus now: victory. And soon, the overseers would learn what it meant to challenge humanity.